Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the Snakebite. This is Carl Van Gelder. I'm James Simpson. I got a haircut last Thursday. Thank you for noticing. Spring sports are doing great. They are rolling, and we've got news on that today. Nick, roll that intro.
And why not start in Cam 3? We love the wide shot, and James, the women have done a great job on the lacrosse team, taking care of business and just beating all competition that they faced, extending their win streak to 9 in a row, now the most since 2012.
Yeah, and the Mocs finished that season 21-2, losing only in the national championship, which is pretty amazing. Carl, do you think this is the best women's lacrosse team we've ever seen?
And right now they're on track. They had some early blips in the start of the season, but they faced really tough competition all year. They played that #1 pace team and a number of other top 10 teams that some they beat, some they didn't, and now they're really rolling. And a way that they've really rolled is in conference play.
Yes.
They're 6-0 against SSC competition, tied for the longest streak most wins and longest streak in program history in conference play, and they're looking to just continue that. And they have a chance to have the 4th season in program history where they go undefeated in conference play. The most has been those 6 in a row, and they have one more left. Going 7-0 is an opportunity for them this year. But let's shift gears from great Mocs teams of the past to why the current team is being compared to them. And Jackie Stoller has been the heart and soul of the Mocs offense and their ability to get the ball in the net, as she's the 3rd in the nation in points with 96 in 16 games of play. With Stoller and the rest of the Mocs' goal-scoring veracity, they are the 3rd best offense in the country, and that has shown over the last 2 games against number 20 Florida Tech and PBA. First, let's talk about the matchup against the Panthers of Florida Tech, where the Mocs struck early as they scored the first goal of the game, but found themselves up just 1 after the first in a 4-3 game. After that, though, it was all Mocs, and it was predicated off of their efficient offense and control of possession, which allowed them to score 6 goals to 0 in the second to go into the half 10-3. In the second half, the Mocs continued to separate, adding 5 goals to their total and only allowing 1 in the third before taking their foot off the gas and scoring 3 to match Florida Tech's own 3 in the fourth to come out victorious 18-7. In this one, Stoller had 4 points along with Hannah Hale in what was a dominant win that looked like a close one if you compare it to the next one for the Mocs versus PBA. Against the Sailfish, Stoller again had 4 points, but Madison Terre led the team with 7 in a game full of offense for one team. And oh my goodness, was it a great day to be a Florida Southern attacker, with the Mocs scoring 13 straight to start the game and eventually heading into half up 14-1. After the hot start, there wasn't much left to do but coast, and that's what the Mocs did to win 19-5 in their 3rd double-digit win in their last 4 games. The Mocs have now won 7 straight against ranked opponents, and last year runners-ups continue to run it up against everyone, winning their last 3 games by a combined total of 34. And now they'll take on the number 13 Lynn Fighting Knights down in Boca Raton during our production time, who the Mocs are 4-0 against all time. Let's see if they can get 7-0 in conference play. For results, be sure to check fscmocs.com.
The men's lacrosse team would unfortunately not fare as well as the women, as they dropped their game against receiving votes Florida Tech 15-12, despite a 5-goal effort from Brandon Glasser. This was the Mocs' final away game of the regular season to tune up, as they face a long stretch of SSC opponents away in postseason play. First, they will take on Lynn University in the final game of the regular season, happening this Wednesday in what will be a pivotal game for seeding in the upcoming SSC men's lacrosse tournament. Your Mocs currently sit 5th in the conference with a 2-4 SSC record, which matches up with St. Leo, Embry-Riddle, and Lynn's in-conference records. The Mocs will look to lean on Maddox Walton and Caden Weish down the stretch as they lead the team in goals per game and assists per game, respectively. Now, a win tomorrow night over the Knights would shake up the SSC standings and put your Mocs in a way better position to make a run during the tournament. But just a reminder, any of these SSC teams can beat anyone else on any given day.
And speaking of tournaments, the beach volleyball team is back from a tournament of their own, Not the SSC tournament, as the conference will add the sport as a conference sport next year, but the AVCA Small College Championship in what has been a historic season for the Mocs. During the tournament, they got their lick back, taking down an Eckerd team that had their number during regular season play in a 3-2 finish. The number 1 pair of Ashley McKenney and Emma Winford took the win in court in a 21-15 and 21-16 win, followed by a close match with duo Sarah Crocker and Reagan Carlton battling and ultimately coming out on top after the 3rd set. They then got ready to take on Spring Hill College in the bronze bracket championship game, where the Mocs fell short, losing the match 1-3, placing them 2nd in the bronze bracket. In the tournament, they finished 10th out of 16 and the season with a 23-11 record, good enough for the most wins in program history. With the season concluding, the team handed out their end-of-season awards, with Crocker earning the Sandy Mock Award, Jackie Schneer winning MIP Most Improved Player, Emma Winford winning the Newcomer Award, and Haley St. Martin being recognized as the top teammate.
The baseball team took on Lynn University last weekend. That first game of the series took place on Friday and ended up putting the Mocs in a bit of a hole. The Knights would rally in the middle innings to manufacture an 8-2 lead. But despite the Mocs' effort in the bottom of the 9th, they dropped that one 8-4. But dig themselves out of that hole they did by sweeping Saturday's doubleheader. Marcos Haran would pitch a gem in this one, as he would go 9 innings with 0 earned runs. However, errors by the Mocs defense would cause this to go into extras, tied at 6. In the bottom of the 11th, back-to-back hits by Bryce Seiferwich and Jack Duffy would put the Mocs in scoring position, as Roshan Riley would drive them in with a walk-off single for the Mocs to win 7-6. The second game of the doubleheader would nearly mirror the first, as the Mocs once again found themselves in extra innings with the score tied at 2 apiece. The Mocs loaded up the bases in the 10th, as Brady Dory would come up to the plate and deliver a base hit to give the Mocs their second walk-off win of the day, along with back-to-back weekend series wins. Let's hear it sounded on air with our very own Brian Pereira on the call.
And all he has to do here is get the ball to the outfield, and he wins it. First pitch swinging. It's going to drop. It's going to drop, and he has a walk-off single. Back-to-back walk-offs for the Mocs, and they take the series as they win both games today. Both on walk-offs in extra innings. First one going 11, this one going 10.
The baseball team will look to build on this momentum this weekend against Nova Southeastern, with first pitch slated for 6 p.m. on Friday.
And just like the baseball team, Mocs softball had a much-needed bounce-back series, winning the final 2 games of the series during their doubleheader this past Saturday. In the first game, however, it was one of the sloppier games of the season, with the Mocs defensively falling apart with 5 errors on the day. The first game of the series saw every Moc leading off an inning getting a hit, as they went 7 for 7 from the leadoff spot. Their only issue, they had just 3 hits when not leading off. Despite these issues, they still scored 4 runs, but with a 4-run 6th inning from the Fighting Knights, the Mocs fell 6-4. Florida Southern then had a short time to reset, and they did exactly that, cutting their errors in the second game to just 1, and what was a game played exactly to the Mocs style. Great pitching to pair with timely hits. And in the circle for the Mocs was Mel Rogers, who was coming off a start where she tied her career-high strikeout mark with 9 and continued that dominance against Lynn. Even though she didn't match her career-high in strikeout, she had one of, if not her best game of the season, pitching 7 innings of shutout softball, allowing 5 hits to pair with 4 strikeouts. And as mentioned previously, timely hitting allowed the Mocs to dominate, with 2 big runs in the 5th and 4 in the 7th to slam the door shut on the Fighting Knights. And the Mocs had the best performance in this one and the series as a whole was center fielder Kiki Morris, who in the second game of the series went 5 for 5 with a double, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. There was a short intermission, then Florida Southern went right back to dominating, picking up a win similar to how Lynn did in the first game. In the final game of the series, the Mocs scored just 2 earned runs, but racked up 6 runs in the whole game, with Lynn having error after error, digging their own grave in the 6-2 win for the Mocs. Taylor Thomas was on the mound and took care of business on both sides of the ball, with 3 strikeouts, 1 earned run allowed, 2 hits, and a run scored for herself. The Mocs will venture to Fort Lauderdale this Friday and Saturday to take on Nova Southeastern, a team that has had the Mocs number, winning 8 of the last 10 matchups between the two.
You know, Carl, they call Taylor Thomas the Shohei Ohtani of Florida Southern College women's softball. But since we last spoke about them, women's tennis has come alive with huge wins to bolster their confidence going into the final matches of the season. They started off this past week with a strong showing on senior day against a floundering Eckerd College team, absolutely demolishing them 6-1, dominating in doubles and only losing one singles match. They then faced off against a very strong regional opponent, number 37 Valdosta State, in a down-to-the-wire competition, where the Mocs were able to continue their strong doubles play, winning 2 matches. But once it got to singles play, the number 37 team in the country showed their own strengths, winning 4 of the singles matches. The lone Mocs to win in singles play were nationally ranked Leah Passini and Olivia Bryant, as the Mocs fell 5-4, looking to get back to their winning ways against a very good University of West Florida. And that's exactly what they did, as they bounced back against the number 17 Argonauts, winning 5-2 because of, you guessed it, strong doubles play and gritty singles play. They came out on top. The final regular season game will be against the Rollins College Tars this Thursday in Winter Park. Results will be on FSCMocs.com.
After their hot stretch in the middle of the season, men's tennis has hit a bumpy stretch since their return to in-conference action, losing the 3 of their last 4, every loss being a 3-4 loss. But that means they've won 1, and that win wasn't close, as the Mocs definitively beat the Eckerd Triton 6-1. In doubles play, we saw dominance from Boskovic and Inaki, beating their doubles opponent 6-0. And that dominance carried into singles play, where only 1 match was taken to 3 sets and was eventually won by 𝙏𝙀 in a competition that was all Mocs the whole time. Unfortunately for Florida Southern, they had another matchup on deck against the number 4 team in the country, the Rollins College Tars. Against Rollins, the number 13 Florida Southern Mocs followed the script for the season against tough teams, win in doubles play, and see what happens in singles play. And for the Mocs, they saw Rollins pull away in singles play, with only Chris 𝙏𝙀 and Gabriel Joyner winning in singles in another tough 3-4 loss to an in-conference opponent. With 𝙏𝙀 continuing his strong performances, he yet again won SSC Men's Tennis Athlete of the Week for the 2nd week in a row and 3rd time this season. There's 1 game left in the regular season for the Mocs to make a statement, as they'll take on Barry during our production time after the match between the 2 earlier this year was postponed. And James, this Barry team is nothing to scoff at. They're the number 8 team in the country, but they've won 4 straight national championships. You can't really say that this is going to be a walk in the park. This isn't going to be an easy game, even if they're having a down year.
No, they haven't, but the Mocs have shown that they can win those tough matches, and a win today would be major momentum going into the SSC tournament. And speaking of momentum, the track team has had momentum all year. They just keep adding to it, dropping historic performances left to right. The 10K has been the event to watch. And it was again this week. The Mocs competed in California last weekend, with runners competing in both the 5K and the 10K. 5K was the first event run, with multiple Mocs running personal bests, and the ladies competed first, with graduate student Cheyenne Young dipping under the 18-minute barrier with a time of 17:53. And later that night, we saw a huge performance from junior Maya Stam in the 10K, running the 2nd fastest time in program history, finishing the 6.2-mile distance in 36 minutes and 45 seconds. Behind Stam was Elliot Fluman, who ran 37:45 for the 8th fastest time in program history. But let's not forget about the men, though, as they had an even better night, with sophomore Anthony Matthew leading the way in the 5K for Florida Southern, running 14:47, then followed by graduate students Bryson Yamnitz and Alex Guy, who finished 14:49 and 14:57 respectively. Lastly, the best race from any Moc all year, Christian, the 10K killer Giller, ran the 3rd fastest time in program history over the 10-kilometer distance, and fastest by anyone not named Mason Jones, who, again, Olympic trials competitor, placing 6th overall in a field of tough D1 and D2 competition in 29 minutes and 53 seconds. Giller's time dipped well below the national provisional mark, but still puts him just outside of the national competition. The Mocs will return to action on the 26th and 27th at the East Coast Relays up at the University of North Florida.
The women's golf team competed in the SSC Championship this week at the Bayou Club in Largo, Florida, and the Mocs, who were leading after the first round, had a tough second round in which the team carded just 9 birdies as a collective unit and had bogeys or worse in 35 holes. Ashley Angelo leads things for the Mocs, as she has a score of 5 over par, which puts her tied for 5th, and Claire Gimple is the other Moccasin within the top 20, as her 8 over par puts her in a tie for 21st. As of our production time, the Mocs appear to have secured 3rd place, with Angelo coming in at 5th place with a score of 6 over. For full results, make sure to check out FSCMocs.com. And we just talked about women's golf. Men's golf next week is their SSC Championship. There'll be a lot of excitement for all the teams around campus. Make sure to bet on the softball team. Taylor Thomas, I bet on her getting another big game coming up. Let's see what she can do. We'll talk about it next week on the Snakebite.